At this exact moment, something is being taken away from you. Not loudly, not violently, not in a way that you can easily notice, but it's happening silently. Your life is being stolen, second by second, minute by minute. And the worst part? You're letting it happen. You don't feel it. You don't hear it. You don't see it leaving, because time doesn't make noise when it disappears. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't slow down just because you're not ready. It just goes. And you sit there, scrolling, thinking, delaying, telling yourself, I'll do it later. Later. That dangerous word again. The same word that has quietly destroyed more potential than failure ever could. Because later feels safe. Later feels comfortable. Later feels like you still have control. But you don't. Because while you're saying later, your life is saying now. And those two don't match. Every time you delay something important, you're not just postponing action, you're sacrificing time. Real time. Your time. The only resource you will never get back. Think about it. You can lose money and earn again. You can fail and try again. You can make mistakes and fix them. But time, once it's gone forever. No reset, no rewind, no second chance. And yet, you treat it like it's unlimited. You wake up like you have endless days ahead. You act like there's always another opportunity waiting. But what if there isn't? What if the time you're wasting right now is the time you'll wish you had back later? Because one day, you're going to look back, and you won't remember the scrolling. You won't remember the distractions. You won't remember the excuses. You'll only remember one thing: how much time you wasted. And that realization, it hits hard. Because regret doesn't come from failure. It comes from inaction. From knowing you could have done more, but you didn't. From realizing you had the time, but you didn't use it. And now, it's too late to get it back. That's the future you're slowly building every time you choose comfort over action. Every time you choose distraction over discipline. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow is just another version of today if you don't change. That's the trap. You think you're waiting for the right time, but the right time is passing you by. Right now. As you're listening to this, your life is moving forward, with or without your effort, with or without your progress. Time doesn't care. It doesn't stop for you. It doesn't adjust for you. It keeps going. And if you're not moving with it, you're falling behind. Not compared to others, but compared to your own potential. The person you could become is getting further away, not because it's impossible, but because you're not acting. That's the truth. You're not stuck. You're not unlucky. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're wasting your life. And deep down, you know it. You feel it in those quiet moments when everything slows down and that voice inside your head says, you should be doing more. But instead of listening, you ignore it. You distract yourself. You escape. Because facing the truth is uncomfortable. But ignoring it doesn't change anything. It just makes the loss bigger. Because every second you avoid action is a second you can never recover. And one day, those seconds will turn into years. Years of missed chances. Years of unrealized potential. Years of what-ifs.
and by then, there's nothing you can do about it. So the real question is, how much more are you willing to lose? How many more hours? How many more days? How many more chances before you finally decide enough is enough? Because nobody is coming to save you, and time is not waiting for you. It's leaving right now. And if you don't wake up, you won't just lose time, you'll lose the life you could have lived.
You've been tricked, not by someone else, but by your own mind. It convinced you of something that feels true, but isn't. It told you, you still have time, and you believed it. You wake up every day thinking there's no rush, no urgency, no pressure, like life is just waiting for you to start. But it's not. Time is not sitting still, waiting for you to figure things out. It's moving, relentlessly, without pause, without emotion. And the biggest illusion you're living in is this, that you have more of it than you actually do. Because you don't measure time properly. You don't see it in years. You see it in comfort, in routines, in habits. You think, I'm still young. I still have years ahead. I'll figure it out eventually. But that's not reality. That's a story you tell yourself to avoid facing the truth. Because the truth creates pressure, and pressure forces action, and action requires effort. So your mind protects you by creating an illusion that everything is okay, that there's no need to rush, that you can delay just a little longer, just one more day, just one more week, just one more later. But that illusion, it's dangerous because it keeps you comfortable, and comfort is where your potential slowly dies. Not in one big moment, but in small, repeated choices. You sit down to do something important, but instead you check your phone, just for a minute. Then that minute becomes 10. Then 10 becomes an hour. And suddenly, the time is gone. Again. And you tell yourself, it's fine, I'll do it tomorrow. There it is again. Tomorrow. The word that gives you false peace while silently destroying your future. Because tomorrow doesn't exist. It's just a mental escape, a way to avoid the discomfort of starting now. And your brain loves it. Because your brain is not designed for success. It's designed for survival. It wants comfort. It wants ease. It wants to conserve energy. So it pushes you towards distractions, towards scrolling, toward entertainment, toward anything that feels easy. And it justifies it. You deserve a break. You've had a long day. It's okay. You'll do it later. And just like that, another day is gone. Without progress, without movement, without change. And the scariest part? You don't even feel it happening. Because the loss is invisible. You don't feel time leaving your life. You only feel the consequences later, when it's too late, when you look around and realize nothing has changed. You're still in the same place, with the same goals, the same ideas, the same plans that you never acted on. And now, time is no longer on your side, because the older you get, the faster it feels. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and it all starts to blur. You lose track, you lose momentum, you lose opportunities. Not because you weren't capable, but because you believed the illusion that you had time, that you could wait, that you could delay. But time doesn't wait. It never did. You were just distracted. And now you're paying the price. In missed chances, in regret, in frustration. And it builds, quietly, until one day it becomes overwhelming. You realize how far behind you are, how much you haven't done, how much you've wasted. And suddenly, the illusion breaks and reality hits hard. Because now, you don't feel like you have time anymore. Now you feel pressure. Now you feel urgency. Now you wish you had started earlier, but you didn't. And that realization, it hurts. Because you can't go back. You can't recover those wasted days. You can't reclaim those lost hours. They're gone. Forever. That's the cost of believing the illusion. So the question is, how long are you going to keep believing it? How many more days are you going to tell yourself, I have time? How many more chances are you going to waste before you accept the truth? Because the truth is simple. You don't have as much time as you think, and the time you do have is being used right now, either to build your future or to destroy it. There is no neutral. There is no pause. Every moment counts. Every choice matters. Every delay costs you something. So wake up. Break the illusion. Stop telling yourself comforting lies. Stop pretending everything is okay. Stop acting like you have unlimited time. Because you don't. And the longer you stay in this illusion, the harder it becomes to escape. The deeper you sink into comfort, the further you drift from your potential, until one day you won't even recognize the person you could have been, all because you thought you had more time. But you didn't, and you still don't. So what are you going to do now? Keep believing the illusion, or finally wake up and take control of the time you have left? Because nobody is coming to save you, and time is already moving, with or without you.
Close your eyes for a second and imagine this. It's not today. It's not tomorrow. It's years from now. You're older, tired, slower, and you're sitting somewhere quiet, looking back at your life. Not what you wanted it to be, but what it became. And in that moment, there's no noise, no distractions, no excuses, just you and your thoughts. And one feeling begins to grow: regret. Not small regret, not something you can ignore, but deep, heavy, unavoidable regret. The kind that sits in your chest and doesn't leave. Because now you can see everything clearly. All the time you had, all the chances you were given, all the moments you could have acted, but didn't. You remember the days you said, I'll start tomorrow. You remember the times you chose comfort instead of growth. You remember the opportunities you ignored, not because you couldn't take them, but because you didn't feel ready. And now you wish you had. But you can't go back. That's the hardest part. You can't fix it. You can't restart. You can't say, let me try again, because life doesn't work like that. There are no replays, no second versions, no second chances for the same moment. Once it's gone, it's gone. And now you're left with the reality of what you didn't do. Not what you failed at, but what you never even tried. And that hurts more. Because failure teaches you something, but inaction, it leaves you with questions. What if I had started? What if I had tried harder? What if I didn't waste so much time? Those questions, they don't have answers. They just stay there, echoing in your mind, reminding you of the life you could have lived and the person you could have become, but didn't. Because you waited, because you delayed, because you believed you had time. And now that time is gone, and you're forced to accept it.
every missed opportunity, every wasted day, every moment you chose easy over necessary. It all adds up until it becomes your reality. A life that feels incomplete, not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't act. And that realization is painful, because deep down, you know it was avoidable. You know you could have done more. You know you had the potential, but potential means nothing if you don't use it. And now you're paying the price. Not in money, not in status, but in feeling. A constant sense of it could have been different. And no matter what you do, you can't change it. That's the future waiting for you if you keep doing what you're doing right now. If you keep delaying, if you keep wasting time, if you keep choosing comfort. Because your future is not random. It's built from your current actions or your lack thereof. So if today looks like distraction, tomorrow will look like regret. If today looks like procrastination, tomorrow will look like frustration. If today looks like wasted time, tomorrow will look like a wasted life. That's the connection. And most people don't realize it until it's too late, until they're already living that reality, already feeling that regret, already wishing they had started sooner. But you're not there yet. You're still here, right now, in this moment, where you still have time, not unlimited time, but enough. Enough to change direction, enough to take action, enough to avoid that future. But only if you move, only if you stop delaying, only if you stop ignoring what you already know you need to do. Because deep down, you know. You know what you're avoiding. You know what you're delaying. You know what you should be doing right now, but you're not. And every second you continue like this, you're getting closer to that future. The one filled with regret. The one filled with what if. The one filled with missed chances. And one day, you'll be there, looking back, wishing you could come back to this exact moment, wishing you could tell yourself, don't waste this, don't wait, don't delay, because this moment is everything. It's your chance, your opportunity, your turning point, but only if you use it, because nobody is coming to save you, and your future is being decided right now, not later, not tomorrow, right now. So decide before it's too late.
You think nothing is happening. That's the illusion. You wake up, you go through your day, you do the same things. You tell yourself, it's fine, it's not that bad, I'll change soon. But what you don't see is what's slowly slipping away. Your life is not standing still, it's moving, quietly, slowly, but constantly. And every day you stay the same, you're not maintaining your life, you're losing it, little by little, piece by piece. It doesn't feel like loss because it's not dramatic. It's subtle, silent, almost invisible. That's what makes it dangerous, because you don't notice it until it's too late. You think I'm still in the same place, but you're not. You're behind. Because time moved forward and you didn't. You didn't grow. You didn't improve. You didn't act. You stayed the same. And staying the same is the most expensive decision you can make, because everything else keeps moving. The world evolves, people grow, opportunities pass, and you stay where you are, thinking you're safe, but you're not. You're falling behind. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in a quiet, painful way. The kind that builds over time, until one day you feel it. You look around and everything feels different. People have moved forward,
Situations have changed, life has progressed, but you're still trying to figure out where to start, still stuck in the same cycle, still telling yourself, "I'll do it soon." And that's when it hits you. That uncomfortable realization, you've been wasting time. Not in big, obvious ways, but in small, repeated patterns. The same habits, the same distractions, the same excuses, over and over again. And now, they've built your reality. A reality you didn't plan, but created anyway. Because every day you repeat something, you reinforce it, you strengthen it, you turn it into who you are. That's how identity is built, not in one decision, but in daily actions. So if every day you delay, you become someone who delays. If every day you avoid, you become someone who avoids. If every day you waste time, you become someone who wastes life. That's the truth, and it's not comfortable, because it forces you to face yourself, not your situation, not your past, not your environment, you, your choices, your habits, your patterns, because nothing changes until you do. And right now, you're choosing to stay the same, not maybe intentionally, but through your actions, through your inaction, through your silence, through your delays. And that choice, it has consequences. Not immediately, not in a way that shocks you, but in a way that builds, quietly, until one day you don't recognize your life. You feel stuck, frustrated, behind, and you don't understand why. But the reason is simple. You stayed the same for too long. You avoided change. You avoided discomfort. You avoided growth. And now you're living the result of that. That's the pain of staying the same. It doesn't hit you all at once. It builds slowly until it becomes your reality. And by then, it's harder to change because habits are stronger, comfort is deeper, resistance is higher. You've trained yourself to stay where you are, and breaking that, it takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes discomfort, the very things you've been avoiding. That's why most people stay stuck, not because they can't change, but because changing feels harder than staying the same, even if staying the same is destroying them, slowly, silently, every single day. So ask yourself, how much longer are you going to stay like this? How many more days will you repeat the same cycle? How many more chances will you let pass before you finally decide enough? Because nothing is going to change on its own. Your life is not going to magically improve. Your situation is not going to fix itself. Time is not going to wait for you. Everything will keep moving, with or without you. And if you don't move, you will be left behind. That's the reality. Not harsh, not unfair, just real. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you can change it. Because right now, you still have a choice to stay the same or to become something different. But you can't do both. You can't hold on to comfort and expect growth. You can't repeat the same actions and expect a new life. It doesn't work like that. Change requires action. Change requires discomfort. Change requires you to let go of the version of yourself that's holding you back. And no one is going to do that for you. Nobody is coming to save you. So if you want your life to change, you have to change right now. Not later, not someday, now. Because every moment you wait, you're choosing to stay the same. And the longer you stay the same, the more your life slips away. So decide before there's nothing left to change.
There's another version of you. Not in some fantasy world,
not in some impossible reality, but right here, close, real, possible. A version of you that you were supposed to become. Stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more confident. A version of you that wakes up with purpose, that moves with clarity, that doesn't hesitate, doesn't delay, doesn't waste time. And the truth is, that version of you already exists. Not physically, but as potential, as possibility, as a path you could take if you chose to. But right now, you're not that person. You're something else. A version that knows what to do, but doesn't do it. A version that dreams, but doesn't act. A version that waits instead of moves. And every single day, that gap grows. The gap between who you are and who you could have been. At first, it's small, almost unnoticeable. You tell yourself, it's fine, I'll catch up later. I just need a little more time. But that gap doesn't stay small. It grows, quietly, every time you delay, every time you avoid, every time you choose comfort. Because the version of you that could have been doesn't wait. He acts, he moves, he sacrifices, he builds. While you hesitate, while you scroll, while you postpone. And over time, that difference becomes massive. So massive that one day you look at your life and you realize you are not even close to who you could have been. And that realization, it's painful. Because it's not about failure, it's about missed potential. It's about knowing you had the ability, you had the opportunity, you had the time, but you didn't use it. And now, you're living a smaller version of your life, a limited version, a reduced version. Not because you were forced to, but because you chose not to act. And that's hard to accept, because it means you're responsible. Not your situation, not your background, not your circumstances. You. Your decisions, your actions, your inaction. That's what created this gap. And deep down, you feel it. You feel it when you see others moving forward, not in jealousy, but in realization. You think, that could have been me. And you're right, it could have been. But it's not, because you didn't do what was required. You didn't stay consistent. You didn't push when it was hard. You didn't choose discipline when it was necessary. And now, you're seeing the result. Not instantly, but over time. That's how wasted potential works. It doesn't hit you immediately. It builds slowly, until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. You see what your life is and what it could have been, side by side. And the difference? It hurts. Because it's not about dreaming anymore. It's about reality. It's about what you actually became and what you didn't. And the worst part? You can't blame anyone. Because you know you had chances, you had moments, you had opportunities to start, to change, to move. But you didn't take them. You let them pass, one by one, until they became your past. And now, you're here, facing the result of that. But here's the truth. It's not over yet. That version of you, the one you could have been, it's still there, waiting. But now, it's harder to reach, because time has passed, because habits are stronger, because comfort is deeper, because you've built a pattern of delay. And breaking that pattern takes effort. It takes discipline. It takes discomfort, the very things you've been avoiding. So now the question is, are you going to continue like this? Are you going to keep growing that gap? Are you going to keep becoming less than what you're capable of? Or are you finally going to close it? Because the only way to close that gap is through action, consistent action, uncomfortable action, action you don't feel like taking. Because the version of you that could have been wouldn't wait, wouldn't hesitate, wouldn't make excuses. He would act. And that's the version you need to become. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because every day you delay, that version gets further away. And one day, it might disappear completely. And all you'll be left with is regret. So don't let that happen. Don't settle for less. Don't accept a smaller version of your life. Because you know you're capable of more. You've always known. You've just been avoiding it. But now, you can't ignore it anymore. Because nobody's coming to save you, and the person you could have been is waiting for you to catch up. The question is, will you?
There comes a moment in your life, not loud, not dramatic, not something the world notices, but inside you, something shifts. A quiet realization, a heavy awareness that you can't keep living like this anymore. Not because someone told you, not because something forced you, but because you finally see it. Clearly, you see the patterns. You see the wasted time. You see the gap between who you are and who you could be. And for the first time, you don't ignore it. You don't distract yourself. You don't push it away. You sit with it, and it hits you hard. I can't keep doing this. That's the moment, the turning point, the moment where everything can change. But here's the truth. Most people feel this moment and still do nothing. They feel the pain. They feel the urgency. They feel the need to change. But then they go back to comfort, back to habits, back to the same life. Because feeling something is not the same as deciding something. A decision is different. A real decision cuts off options. It removes escape. It forces action. And that's why it's rare. Because deciding means you're done negotiating with yourself. No more "I'll try." No more "I'll see how it goes." No more "I'll start when I feel ready." No. A decision sounds like "I'm doing this no matter what." That's different. That's commitment. That's where change begins. Because once you truly decide, your behavior changes. Not perfectly, not instantly, but intentionally. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start asking, "Does this move me forward?" That's self-control. And self-control is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Choosing what's necessary, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring, even when you don't feel like it. Because feelings are temporary, but your decisions, they shape your life. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you choose discipline, you reinforce strength. Every time you choose comfort, you reinforce weakness. That's how identity is built. Not in big moments, but in daily choices. And the moment you decide, "I'm done wasting my life," those choices start to change. You stop scrolling mindlessly. You stop delaying important work. You stop making excuses for your lack of progress. Not because it's easy, but because you've made a decision. A real one. And real decisions come with sacrifice. You will have to give up comfort. You will have to let go of distractions. You will have to say no to things that don't serve you. That's the cost. And most people avoid it because it feels restrictive, because it feels hard, because it forces them to take responsibility. But that's exactly why it works. Because discipline creates freedom. Not immediate freedom, but long-term freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from frustration. Freedom from feeling stuck. But to get there, you have to control yourself, your time, your actions, your habits. Because if you don't, something else will. Your phone, your environment, your emotions. And those things don't care about your future. They care about comfort. And comfort is the enemy of growth. So this is your moment. Not later, not tomorrow, now, right now, to make a decision. Not a soft one, not a temporary one, but a real one. A decision that changes how you act, how you think, how you live. Because once you decide, everything becomes clearer. You know what to do, you know what to avoid, you know what matters, and you stop wasting time on things that don't. That's power. That's control. That's transformation. But it only happens if you commit, if you follow through, if you stop going back. Because the moment you go back to your old habits, you weaken your decision. You break your own trust. And once you stop trusting yourself, everything becomes harder. So protect your decision. Honor it. Follow it. Even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. Because nobody is coming to save you. And this moment, this exact moment, is your chance to take control. Not partially, not temporarily, but fully. So ask yourself, are you really done? Or are you just feeling something that will pass? Because if you're truly done, then prove it. With your actions, with your discipline, with your consistency. Not tomorrow, not later, now. This is where your new life begins. Or doesn't. The choice is yours. Making a decision is powerful, but living by that decision, that's where everything changes. Because the moment you decide to change your life, the real test begins. Not the next day, not next week, immediately. You wake up, and nothing around you is changed. Same room, same phone, same habits waiting for you. The same triggers that used to control you are still there. And now you have a choice. Go back or move forward. That's the reality no one talks about. Change doesn't remove your old life overnight. It challenges you to rise above it every single day. Because your old self, it doesn't disappear. It fights back. It whispers, just take it easy today. You've already done enough. One small break won't hurt. And if you're not careful, you'll listen. You'll slip. And once you slip, it becomes easier to fall back completely. That's how most people lose. Not because they didn't decide, but because they didn't stay consistent. They didn't protect their decision. They treated it like a feeling instead of a commitment. And feelings fade, but commitment, it stays, if you honor it. So now, your job is simple. Not easy, but simple. Show up every single day, no matter what. Not when you feel like it, not when it's convenient, not when you're motivated, but every day. Because consistency is not intensity. It's about repetition, doing the same things again and again, even when it's boring, even when it feels pointless, even when you don't see results yet. That's where most people quit, because they expect change to feel exciting, but it doesn't. It feels repetitive. It feels slow. It feels like nothing is happening, but something is happening. You're building discipline. You're strengthening your mind. You're becoming someone who follows through. And that matters more than any short-term result. Because once you become consistent, everything else becomes possible. But to get there, you have to eliminate one thing: going back. No turning back to old habits. No returning to old excuses. No revisiting the version of you that kept you stuck. Because every time you go back, you weaken your progress. You break your momentum. You remind yourself that quitting is still an option. And it's not. Not anymore. You've seen what that leads to. Wasted time, missed opportunities, regret. You've been there. You don't need to go back. So remove it as an option.
completely. This is who you are now, someone who shows up, someone who does the work, someone who doesn't negotiate with themselves. And yes, it's hard. There will be days when you don't feel like doing anything, days when your energy is low, days when your mind is tired, days when everything feels heavy. But those are the days that matter most, because anyone can show up when it's easy, but real growth, it happens when it's hard, when you don't feel like it and you do it anyway. That's discipline. That's consistency. That's how you separate yourself, because most people stop there. Most people give in. Most people choose comfort, and that's why they stay the same. But you don't. You keep going. Even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, because progress doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence, and persistence builds momentum, and momentum builds results. But it only works if you don't stop, if you don't go back, if you don't break your own trust. Because the moment you start breaking promises to yourself, everything becomes unstable. Your confidence drops, your discipline weakens, your identity shifts back. And that's dangerous, because then you're not just fighting your habits, you're fighting yourself. So protect your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it, no matter what. That's how you build self-respect. That's how you build control. That's how you build a new identity. And identity is everything. Because once you see yourself as someone who is consistent, who follows through, who doesn't quit, your actions align with that. You don't have to force it. It becomes natural. But until then, you have to fight for it, daily, relentlessly, without excuses, without breaks in commitment. Because the moment you slow down too much, you risk falling back. And going back is not an option. Not anymore. You've come too far. You've seen too much. You know what staying the same feels like. You know what wasting time leads to. You know what regret feels like. So don't go back. Keep moving. Keep showing up. Keep executing. Day after day, no matter what. Because nobody is coming to save you. And the life you want, it's built through consistency. Not once, not twice, but every single day. So lock in, stay focused, and don't turn back. Ever.
This is the part no one prepares you for. The part where everything feels heavy. Not in a dramatic way, but in a constant, quiet pressure that never really leaves. You wake up and you're already tired. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally. Like your mind has been carrying something all night and didn't get a chance to rest. You try to focus, but your thoughts feel slow. You try to move, but your energy feels low. And for a moment, you question everything. Is this worth it? Why does this feel so hard? Am I even getting anywhere? That's the phase, the one most people never talk about, because it's not exciting, it's not inspiring, it's exhausting. This is where discipline gets tested. Not when you're motivated, not when everything is going well, but when you're drained, when you feel like you have nothing left, when every part of you is asking for a break. And the truth is, you will feel like this, more than once, more than you expect, because growth is not a straight line. It's pressure, repeated, over time. And pressure creates fatigue. It wears you down slowly until you reach a point where you don't feel strong anymore. You don't feel confident. You don't feel in control. You just feel tired. And that's dangerous, because when you're tired, you're vulnerable. You're more likely to slip, more likely to go back,
more likely to choose comfort, because comfort feels like relief. It feels like escape. It feels like something you need. And in those moments, it's very tempting to stop, to pause, to say, I'll continue later. But later becomes never, because once you step away, it becomes harder to come back. That's the trap. Fatigue doesn't just slow you down, it tests your commitment. It asks you, how serious are you really? Are you doing this only when it feels good? Or are you willing to continue when it feels like this? And your answer, it shows in your actions. Not your thoughts, not your intentions, your actions. Do you keep going, or do you stop? Because this phase, it separates people. Those who quit and those who endure. And endurance is not about being strong all the time. It's about continuing even when you feel weak, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel yourself. Because strength is the absence of exhaustion. It's the ability to move despite it. And that's what you have to learn. To operate even when you're not at your best. To show up even when you don't feel ready. To do the work even when your mind is telling you to stop. Because if you only work when you feel good, you'll never go far. Your progress will always be inconsistent. Your results will always be limited, because feelings are unreliable. They change, they fluctuate, they disappear. But your goals, they stay. And if you want to reach them, you can't depend on how you feel. You have to depend on what you do every single day, even in this phase, especially in this phase, because this is where most people give up. This is where they say, I've had enough. This is too much. I need a break. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes rest is necessary. But most of the time, it's not rest they need. It's discipline. Because there's a difference. Rest helps you recover. But quitting, it resets you. It takes you back. And you don't want that. You've come too far. You've built too much. You've changed too much to go back now. So what do when everything feels heavy, when your energy is low, when your mind is tired? You simplify. You don't try to be perfect. You don't try to do everything. You just do something. One task, one step, one action, and then another and another until the day is done. That's how you survive this phase. Not with intensity, but with consistency. Not with perfection, but with persistence. Because progress in this phase is not about speed, it's about not stopping. And that's enough, because as long as you're moving, you're still in control, you're still growing, you're still becoming. Even if it feels slow, even if it feels small, even if it feels like nothing is happening, something is happening. You're building resilience, you're strengthening your mind, you're proving to yourself that you don't quit when it gets hard. And that matters more than anything. Because life will always have pressure, always have challenges, always have moments where things feel heavy. And if you can handle this, you can handle anything. But only if you don't stop. Only if you keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's exhausting, even when you feel like giving up. Because nobody is coming to save you. And this phase, this exact phase, is where you become stronger or go back to who you used to be. So don't stop. Don't slow down too much. Don't give in to the feeling. Push forward, step by step, day by day, no matter how heavy it feels. Because this is where you earn it. This is where you grow. This is where you prove that you're not the same person anymore.
At some point, something changes inside you. Not in a loud way, not in a way others immediately notice, but internally, there's a shift. A deep, quiet shift, where you stop reacting and start controlling. You stop depending on how you feel. You stop waiting for the right mood. You stop looking for motivation because you realize something most people never do. You don't need it. You never did. What you needed was control. Control over your time. Control over your actions. Control over your focus. Because everything in your life comes down to that. Not luck, not timing, not external circumstances, but how you manage yourself. And once you understand that, everything becomes different. You no longer feel lost. You no longer feel stuck. You no longer feel like you're waiting for something, because you're not waiting anymore. You're operating with intention, with clarity, with purpose. And it shows in the way you wake up, in the way you work, in the way you think. You don't waste time on things that don't matter. You don't get pulled into distractions. You don't let your emotions dictate your actions. Because you've built something stronger, discipline. And discipline creates control. Not temporary control, but consistent, reliable control. The kind that doesn't break when things get hard. The kind that doesn't disappear when you're tired. The kind that stays, no matter what. And that's power. Real power. Not loud, not flashy, but internal. Unshakable. Because now, you don't need someone to push you. You don't need someone to remind you. You don't need someone to guide you. You guide yourself. Every single day. You know what needs to be done. And you do it. Without hesitation. Without excuses. Without delay. That's the difference. And it didn't happen overnight. It came from everything you went through. The wasted time, the regret, the pressure, the discipline. All of it built this version of you. The one who is now in control. And that version? It's dangerous. Because now, you're not easily distracted. You're not easily discouraged. You're not easily stopped. Because your strength doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. From your habits. From your consistency. From your ability to keep going. No matter what. And that's what separates you. Not talent. Not intelligence. Not background. But control. Most people don't have it. They react. They delay. They depend on how they feel. And that's why they stay the same. But you've moved past that. You've built a system, a way of living, where your actions are aligned with your goals, where your time is used with intention, where your focus is protected. And once you reach that level, everything becomes possible. Because now, you can execute consistently, relentlessly, without needing motivation, without needing external pressure, without needing someone to save you, because you've already saved yourself. And that realization, it changes everything. You don't feel weak anymore. You don't feel lost anymore. You don't feel like you're falling behind. Because you know you're in control. And as long as you're in control, you can build anything, achieve anything, become anything, but only if you maintain it. Because control is not something you achieve once. It's something you practice. every single day, through your actions, through your decisions, through your discipline. Because the moment you let go, you lose it. The moment you relax too much, old habits start creeping back. Distractions start pulling you in. Comfort starts calling you again. And if you're not careful, you can fall back. That's the risk. Because growth is not permanent. It requires maintenance. It requires awareness. It requires continuous effort. But now, you're ready for that. Because you understand. You've seen both sides. You've lived the life of wasting time, of delaying, of avoiding. And now, you've built the opposite. A life of control, of action, of purpose. And there's no going back. Because once you experience this level of clarity, this level of discipline, this level of control, you can't unsee it. You can't ignore it. You can't go back to being that person again. Not fully. Because now, you know what you're capable of. And that knowledge, it's powerful. Because it removes doubt. It removes hesitation. It removes excuses. And it replaces them with one thing: responsibility. Full responsibility. For your time. For your actions. For your life. And that's the final shift. The one that changes everything. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop depending. And you start building. Deliberately. Consistently. Relentlessly. Because nobody is coming to save you. And you don't need them anymore. You've become the one in control. The one who decides. The one who acts. The one who builds. And from this point forward, everything is on you. And that's exactly where you need to be.
One day, this will all make sense. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day you'll sit down in silence. No distractions, no noise, no escape. Just you and your life. And in that moment, you'll see everything clearly. Not the way you saw it before, through excuses, through comfort, through illusion, but as it really is. You'll see how you spent your time, where your days went, what you chose to do, what you chose to ignore, and most importantly, what you didn't do. The chances you had, but didn't take. The opportunities that were there, but you delayed. The moments that could have changed everything, but you let them pass. Not because you couldn't act, but because you didn't. And that realization, it doesn't come with noise. It comes with silence. A heavy, quiet understanding that settles deep inside you. You won't need anyone to tell you. You won't need anyone to remind you, because you'll know. You'll know exactly what you did with your time and what it cost you. Because time is the only thing that shows you the truth. Not immediately, but eventually. It reveals everything: your habits, your discipline, your effort, your excuses, all of it. And it turns it into your life. Not the life you imagined, but the life you built. Through your actions, through your inaction, through your choices. Every single day. And once that life is built, you can't go back and change it. You can't edit it. You can't restart it. You can only look at it and accept it.
That's the final reality. And it's not always easy, because sometimes that reality is not what you wanted, not what you hoped for, not what you knew you were capable of. And that's where the pain comes from. Not from failure, but from knowing you could have done more, that you had more in you, that you had time, but you didn't use it. And now that time is gone, forever. That's the truth. Time doesn't come back. It doesn't give second chances. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just moves, and your life moves with it, whether you act or not. And one day, you'll feel the full weight of that. You'll understand it completely. But by then, it will either be too late or it will be the reason you're proud. Because there are two versions of that moment, two completely different outcomes. In one, you sit there with regret, thinking about everything you didn't do, everything you delayed, everything you wasted, and it hurts, because you know it didn't have to be like that. In the other, you sit there with peace, not because everything was perfect, but because you tried, because you acted, because you used your time, even when it was hard, even when you didn't feel like it, even when it would have been easier to stay the same. And that difference is created right now, in this moment, not in the future, not in some big event, but in what you choose to do today, right now. Because every day is a building block, every action is a decision, every moment is a chance to move forward or stay the same. And those small choices, they add up until they become your life. So don't underestimate this moment. Don't think it doesn't matter. Don't tell yourself, I'll start later, because later is not guaranteed. Later is not promised. Later is not real. All you have is now, this second, this opportunity, this chance to act. And it's enough, more than enough, to change everything, if you use it. But only if you use it. Because nobody is coming to save you. No one is going to give you more time. No one is going to fix your life for you. It's on you. It always was, and it always will be. But that's not a burden. That's power. Because if everything is on you, then everything is in your control. Your actions, your discipline, your future, all of it. And that means you can change it. You can build something better. You can become something more. But only if you stop wasting time. Only if you stop delaying. Only if you stop waiting. Because time is not waiting for you. It's moving right now, as you're listening to this. And one day, you'll look back at this exact moment, this exact decision, this exact opportunity, and you'll either be grateful or regretful. There is no in-between. So choose right now, not with your words, not with your thoughts, but with your actions. Because in the end, that's all that matters. What you did with the time you had. So don't waste it. Don't ignore it. Don't take it for granted. Because this moment, this exact moment, is the beginning of everything, or the continuation of nothing. The choice is yours, and it always has been.